Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Dear listeners, subject to the discourse today, Maha Parinibbana Sutta, discourse on Lord Buddha's last days. Thus have I heard, once the Blessed One dwelt at Rajagaha on the hill called Kijakuta, that means Vulturous Peak. At that time, the king of Magadha, Ajatasattu, son of the Vaidehi queen, decided to wage war against the Vajjis. He spoke in this fashion: these Vajjis, powerful and glorious as they are, I shall annihilate them. I shall make them perish. I shall utterly destroy them. And King Ajatasattu, the king of Magadha, addressed the chief minister. The Brahman Vasakara, saying, "Come, Brahman, go to the Blessed One, pay homage in my name at his feet, wish him good health, strength, ease, vigor, and comfort, and speak thus: O Lord, Ajatasattu, the king of Magadha, desires to wage war against the Vajjis. He has spoken in this fashion: these Vajjis, powerful and glorious as they are, I shall annihilate them. I shall make them perish. I shall utterly destroy them. And whatever the Blessed One should answer you, keep it well in mind and inform me. For Tathagatas do not speak falsely." "Very well, sire," said the Brahman Vasakara in assent to Ajatasattu, the king of Magadha. And he ordered a large number of magnificent carriages to be made ready, mounted one himself, and accompanied by the rest, drove out to Rajagaha towards Gijakuta Peak. He went by carriage as far as the carriage could go. Then dismounting, he approached the Blessed One on foot. After exchanging courteous greetings with the Blessed One, together with many pleasant words, he sat down at one side and addressed the Blessed One thus: "Venerable Gautama, Ajatasattu, the king of Magadha, pays homage at your feet, and the Venerable Gautama and wishes him good health, strength, ease, vigor, and comfort. He desires to wage a war against the Vajjis, and he has spoken in this fashion: these Vajjis are powerful and glorious as they are. I shall annihilate them. I shall make them perish. I shall utterly destroy them." At that time, Venerable Ananda, the Lord Buddha's main duty person, was standing behind the Blessed One, fanning him, and the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Ananda thus: "What have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajjis have frequent gatherings, and their meetings well attended?" Now Lord Buddha's preaching the conditions of a nation's welfare. If a government need to be more powerful, a country need to be more powerful, a king, if a king need to be more powerful, he must approve, he must practice these 7 conditions. The first one is the frequent gatherings. And their meetings well attended. I have heard, Lord, that is so, that this is so. So long, Ananda, Lord Buddha is replying. So long, Ananda, as this is the case, the growth of the Vajjis is to be expected, not their decline. Then the second one, Lord Buddha is asking, what have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajjis assemble and despair peacefully and attend to their affairs in concord? Then Venerable Ananda replied, I have heard, Lord, that they do. The Lord Buddha is replying, so long, Ananda, as this the case, the growth of Vajji is to be expected, not their decline. Then the third one, Lord Buddha again asking, what have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajjis neither enact new decrees nor abolish existing ones, but proceed in accordance with their ancient constitutions? Then Venerable Ananda replied, I have heard, Lord, that they do. Lord Buddha is replying, so Ananda, in this is the case, the growth of the Vajjis is to be expected, not their decline. Then the fourth one, what have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajjis show respect, honor, esteem, and veneration towards their elders, and think it worthwhile to listen to them? Then Venerable Ananda replied, I have heard, Lord, that they do. So Lord Buddha is again replying, so long, Ananda, as this is the case, the growth of the Vajjis is to be expected, not their decline. And the sixth one, what have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajjis refrain from abducting women and maidens of good families, and from denying them, or detaining them? That means the Vajjis do not trouble to the women or the girls. They respect to the women. So I have heard, Lord, that they refrain from doing so. So long, Ananda, as this is the case, the growth of the Vajjis is to be expected, not their decline. Then the sixth one, what have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajjis show respect, honor, esteem, and veneration towards their Shrinas, both those within the city and those outside it, and do not deprive them of the due offerings as given and made to them formally? That means the Vajjis respect to their ancient temples, not the Buddhist ones, but their ancient temples, and they do the offerings, the inside and outside of the city. So Venerable Ananda replied, I have heard, Lord, that they do venerate their shrines, and that they do not deprive them of their offerings. So long, Ananda, as this is the case, the growth of the Vajjis is to be expected, not their decline. Then again, the last one. What have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajis duly protected and guarded the Arahants, the Buddhist monks, and so those who have, that means protected and guard uh, the the monks, the Buddhist and another religious monks, means another religious people, so that those who have not come to the realm yet might do so, and those who have already come might live there in peace. The Vajis think, oh, so many monks comes to uh, our country, so many religious people comes to our country, and they live in more peacefully. So Lord Buddha replied, I have heard, Lord, that they do. So long, Ananda, as this is the case, the growth of the Vajis is to be expected, not their decline. So, and the Blessed One addressed the Brahman Vesakara in these words. Once Brahman, I dwelt at Vesali at the Sarananda Shrine, and there was that I taught the Vajis these 7 conditions leading to a nation's welfare. So long, Brahman, as these endure among the Vajis, and the Vajis are known for it, their growth is to be expected, not their decline. Thereupon, the Brahman Vesakara spoke thus to the Blessed One. If the Vajis, Venerable Gautama, were endowed with only one or another of these conditions leading to welfare, their growth would have to be expected, not their decline. What then of the all 7? No harm indeed can be done to the Vajis in battle by Magadha's king. Ajatasattu expect through treachery or discord. Well, then, Venerable Gautama, we will take our leave, for we have much to perform, much work to do. The Lord Buddha replying, do as now seems fit to you, Brahman. And the Brahman Visakara, the chief minister of Magadha, approving of the Venerable, the Blessed One's words and delighted by them, rose from his seat and departed. So, dear ones, there are 7 things, 7 conditions to a nation's welfare. So if somebody works with the politics, they must work through these qualities. The first one is frequent gatherings. They must gather frequently. And another thing is assemble and disperse peacefully. The third one is they do not make new rules, and they must protect the ancient constitution. Do not change the constitution. The fourth one is respect to the elders. The fifth one, protect and respect to the girls and women. Sixth one, show their respects and sacrifices to the holy places inside and outside of the cities. And the seventh one, protect and guard the monks and the people, the spiritual people. If some country do like this, we must expect their growth, not their decline. Then soon after Vasakara's departure, the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Ananda thus, "Go now, Ananda, and assemble in the hall of audience as many bhikkhus as live around Rajagaha." Very well, Lord. And the Venerable Ananda did as he was requested and informed the Blessed One. The community of bhikkhus is assembled. Lord, now let the Blessed One do as he wishes. Venerable Ananda said. Thereupon, the Blessed One rose from his seat, went up to the hall of audience, took his appointed seat there, and addressed the bhikkhus thus, "7 conditions leading to welfare I shall set forth, bhikkhus. Listen and pay heed to what I shall say." "So be it, Lord," the monks replied. The growth of the bhikkhus is to be expected, not their decline, because so long as they assemble frequently and in large numbers, meet and disperse peacefully, and attend to the affairs of the Sangha in concord, they are telling now one by one. Frequently gatherings, assembling of the Sangha, and meet and disperse peacefully. And as long they appoint to new rules and do not, so long as they appoint no new rules and do not abolish the existing ones, is the third one, but proceed in accordance with the code of training, Vinaya, laid down. The fourth one, so long as they show respect, honor, esteem, and veneration towards the elder bhikkhus, those of long standing, long gone forth, the fathers and leaders of the Sangha, and think it worthwhile to listen to them, is the fourth. The fifth one is, so long as they do not come under the power of craving that leads to fresh existence and becoming, so long as they cherish the forest depths of their dwelling. That means use always forests to living, to dwelling. Next one, so long as they establish themselves in mindfulness, so that virtuous brethren of the order who have not come yet might do so, and those already come might live in peace, so long because as these 7 conditions leading to welfare endure among the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis are known for it, their growth is to be expected, not their decline. Those are normally similar to the past ones. Frequent gatherings, meet and disperse peacefully, do not appoint new rules and do not abolish existing rules, and respect to the elder bhikkhus, and do not go under the power of craving, and always use the forest monasteries. And be mindful always to, oh, please come anyone to our monastery and live in peacefully like that way. Then again, 7 further conditions leading to welfare I shall set forth, because listen and pay heed to what I shall say. Then again saying, so be it, Lord. Another 7 things. Dear ones, you also need to try to practice those qualities in your day-to-day life, in your workplace, in your home. If you practice those, you must expect your growth, not your decline. Another 7 things. The growth of the bhikkhus to be expected, not their decline, because so long as they shall have faith, so long as they have moral shame and fear to misconduct, and proficient in learning, resolute, mindfulness, and wise, so long because as these 7 conditions leading to welfare endure among the bhikkhus, and the bhikkhus are known for it, their growth is to be expected, not their decline. What are those 7? The faith, the moral shame, fear to misconduct, proficient in learning, resolute, mindfulness, and the wise, and the wisdom. The 7 things. And again, Lord Buddha is telling 7 further conditions leading to welfare I shall set forth, because listen and pay heed to what I shall say. So be it, Lord. Bhikkhus replied. The growth of the bhikkhus is to be expected, not their decline, because so long as they cultivate the 7 factors of enlightenment, that is, mindfulness, investigation into phenomena, energy in the practice, bliss, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. The Sapta Bojjhanga. The factors of enlightenment. Mindfulness, investigation into phenomena, energy in the practice, bliss, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. Then again, Lord Buddha is telling 7 further conditions leading to welfare I shall set forth, because listen and pay heed to what I shall say. So be it, Lord, monks replied. Then again, Lord Buddha is explaining 7 kind of perceptions to practice. He also tried to practice those. The growth of the bhikkhus is to be expected, not their decline, because as long as they cultivate the perception of impermanence, perception of egolessness, that means perception of non-self, and the perception of the body's impurity, and the perception of the body's wretchedness, the perception of relinquishment, the perception of dispassion, and the perception of cessation. That means you need to practice always those perceptions. How? As an example, we can practice the impermanence. Like according to the Girimananda Sutta, we can practice thus. How? We can look into the impermanence of the 5 clicking aggregates. The body's changings, the sensations changings, the perception changings, volitional activities changings, and the cognitions changings. At least we can practice as a perception, like Rupa Anitta, Anicca, Vedana Anicca, Sanya Anicca, Sankhara Anicca, Vijnanam Anicca, like that way. The body is impermanent, sensations are impermanent, perceptions are impermanent, volitional activities are impermanent, cognitions are impermanent. You can practice at least the perception of the impermanence. And the perception of the egolessness, the non-self. How we should practice egolessness? We can practice Chakkung anatta, Rupa anatta, Sotang anatta, Saddha anatta, and so on. The eye is non-self. The visuals are non-self. Ear is non-self. Sounds are non-self. Nose is non-self. Smells are non-self. Tongue is non-self. Tastes are non-self. Body is non-self. Tangibles are non-self. Mind is non-self. Thoughts are non-self. Why could I say those are non-self? Because if something is ourself, we must have a power to control it. But we can't control anything among them, among those. And the perception of eye and ear also make by as a conceiving. How? As an example, now you can hear my sound. My sound is just a hearing to you. You can hear my sound. Your experience is just hearing. It may be arose with the addition of the eye and the visual, but your present experience is just hearing, just cognizing. But as a work of the cognition, your deluded mind shows you a duality. If I cognize or not, if I see or not, if I hear or not, there is an established and independent. Sounds are existing, visuals are existing. There is an established and independent. I is existing. Ears are existing. I am existing like that way. So the 6 sense spaces have not a self. Six sense bases are, Lord Buddha said, how? Sankatang abhisancheteta. Those are prepared and prepared by own thoughts. Because I have said to you, the summary of the Buddhist practice is 100% awareness in the present moment. So, however, the next one is the perception of the impurity of the body. Perception of the body's impurity. We can use the 32 body parts discerning for this. Oh, this body has hair, body hairs, teeth, nails, skin, flesh, bones, bone marrows, heart, kidneys, and etc. Blood, urine, and etc. like that way. You can practice. And the perception of the bodies and the perception of the wretchedness. That means the wretchedness of the preparations, sankhara. It says in Sabba Sankharesu Anicca Sanya. That means the impermanence of the all kind of preparations of the mind. And the relinquishment of the assets. What are the assets of ours? The assets are the body, sensations, perceptions, volitional activities, and cognitions. Those are our assets. Those are the things we are taking as ourself, as our soul. And the dispassion among them, and the cessation of the idea of existence. When we talk about the cessation of existence, I should teach you a stanza. Lord Buddha has preached Akkeya Sanjino Sattha Akkeyasmin Patittita Akkeyang Aparinyaya Yoga Machanti Machuno. That means the Akkeya Sanjino Sattha, the beings who are tangled with the linguistic patterns, Akkeyasmin Patittita, they got footing on the linguistic patterns, the language patterns, and the grammatic patterns. Akkeyang Aparinyaya, and with the unknowing of the language patterns, Yoga Machanti Machuno, they go to the Mara's tangle. They go to the world desires. They go to the samsara. Then what are these language patterns? As a small example, if you talk about something, if you talk about, now you can see your phone. If you if you tell about this phone, it is just, if you tell there's the phone, automatically you conceive a person who's seeing, a person who's experiencing. In the grammar, we use first person, second person, and third person. If there's a second person or third person, automatically you conceive about a first person. If there's no first person, there is no second person. That means if we talk about you or he, you or they, that means I am existing. Without I am, we can't talk about you or he or they. Automatically, the first person is creating in our mind. Like this way, Akkeya Sanjino Satta. The people who is in the linguistic patterns, are in linguistic patterns. As an example, you can see your phone. Then you are telling, this is the phone. This is the phone. The phone is just a perception, just a name. Phone is just a name. But please pay back your attention to yourself and inside how you think. If you hear a name of the phone, automatically you feel, oh, there's the phone. There's the phone. That means Akkeya Sanjino Satta, the beings always in the linguistic patterns. Akkeyasmin Patittita. And they got footing on the linguistic patterns. Footing means they are thinking, I am watching the phone, I'm seeing the phone, I'm touching the phone. The eye also making. Akkeyang Aparinyaya, with the unknowing, because of the unknowing of those linguistic patterns, Yoga Machanti Machuno. They catch to the sansara and worldly desires. But we can comprehend the linguistic patterns. What is the language? Language means the senior part of a perception. Perception is the junior, the primary level of language or speech or word. What we perceive, we speak it. We speak it what we perceive. In this case, you also may feel the Lord Buddha also using the words like I, mine, yours, like that way. Then how could he speak like that? You must know, Lord Buddha used the language just for the communication, not for find a footing. But you all have found a footing on the language. You are thinking the language is the truth. You are on the language. You are thinking the language is the ultimate truth. There's the phone, there's the table, there's the chair, there's the bed. There's the windows, there's walls, there's the doors. But Lord Buddha and Arahants use the language just for communication. Not for find a footing. I'll explain the Paticca Samuppada, the dependent origination, for the more understanding. Now, we can take the example, seeing the phone. Now you can see your phone. When you look at, now close your eyes and try to understand what I am preaching now. Now you are looking at the phone. Now your mind is now ignorant. You are just an ordinary person, so your mind is ignorant. Because of the ignorance, you take the phone as a thing. I am looking at the phone. Here is the phone, like that way. That is ignorance. The proper explanation of the ignorance is the unknowing of Four Noble Truths. The first is unknowing of suffering and stress. You don't know, if I take this as a thing, I have to suffer, because the sufferings, the deepest aspect is sankhara dukkha. The preparating is suffering. Preparating is stressful. What preparating? As I and phone. I and phone. Phone and I. This is the preparating. There's an established and independent phone is there, if I cognize or not. That is called the unknowing of the suffering. You don't know, if I take this as a thing, it causes to suffering. You don't know that. And you don't know, take the force to take this as a thing is the cause of suffering. The force, we have a craving to take this as a thing. And we don't know, if there's no craving to take this as a thing, there is no suffering. You don't know that. You don't know the way to cease the suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path. You don't know the right vision. You don't know how to practice this according to this experience. You don't know how to develop the mindfulness and effort among this. You don't know how to make a right concentration in this experience. So that's why I tell you are in ignorance. You take this phone as a thing. Because of the ignorance, you feel perceptions, preparations. How? You're thinking there's a phone, here is I am. Your normal thinking pattern. Phone is existing, I am existing. So because of this ignorance, the preparations, there is cognitions, consciousness. I again and again mention, consciousness means not a thing, not a spirit who is living in somewhere. Consciousness is not a thing. You should understand, consciousness means the specially understanding. We mean specially, jnana means understanding. Specially understanding we call vijnana. Not a thing or spirit. Not a soul, not a self. So, especially you understanding, if you look at the phone with your eyes, because of this, only of these two additions, you can't see the phone. If you have not the attention, but if you have the attention, then you specially understands there's the phone, here is I am. That's we call vijnana, the understanding, the specially understanding as dividing the external and internal. The work of vijnana, the work of specially understanding is divide the duality, understand the duality, internal, external. That is called vijnana. Because of these preparations, the vijnana is established. Again and again, you are specially understanding, oh, ear and visual, eye and visual, ear and sound, oh, mind and thought, oh, body and tangible, again, oh, nose and taste, and so on. The taste I'm experiencing, the sound I'm experiencing, like that way. Because of the vijnana, the name and forms, the nama rupa, are reflecting, are manifesting in our consciousness, in our cognitions, in our specially understandings. That means the name and form means, the form means the body and the reflection of the form. Name is the primary aspect of naming something, like your brain and nerve system. What are the primary namings? Sensations, perceptions, intention, contact, and attention. When you look at the phone, there's a form. The reflection of the phone is the form. Then the naming is, when you look at the phone, you have some sensation once you look at it. The idea of I or myself is starting with the sensation. What you sense. Without any sense, you don't feel anything. First is sensation. So then you perceive the sensation, it is good or bad. After that, you got an intention. Oh, here's the phone. Normally those are making together. But if you give an order, this is the order. Then you take the phone as a thing. Then there's a contact. Contact means tinang sangati passo. The three things together going is called passa. Contact is called contact. That means then you established in this concept what? That is to say, you established, oh, there's an independent phone. Here is an independent I. And here is a soul or self or mind who experiencing this. You understand three sides. You separate three sides, external, internal, and mind. You established on it as real and independent things. And if you have contact, there's an attention. If we experience any kind of thing, we experience just a name and form. If you look at the fan also form and namings. Lord Buddha said one time, Ettavata jayatava, ettavata jiyatava, ettavata maretava, ettavata adivachana patho, ettavata nirukti patho, ettavata panyati patho, ettavata panya, ettavata yadidang vattang vattati nama rupang sahavinyane. That means only With this, you have to reborn, you have to decay, you have to die. And because of this, there are synonyms, similar words. Because of this, there is nirukti. Nirukti being the separating a word and find the meaning, like vinyana, v prefix and suffixes, v plus jnana mean vinyana. Especially understand like that. Because of this, there's nirukti. Because of this, there's panyapti. That means concepts. The phone, the name, the name of the phone is a concept. When we talk about the door, if we use this word door, the word of door is a concept. Because of this, the concepts are there. And this is the place to get the wisdom. That is the cycle of name, form, and cognition, name, form, and consciousness. Lord Buddha has said like that. There's place to enter to the wisdom. There's a place to that is why we have to use synonyms. That is why we have to use nirukti. That is why we have to use concepts. That is why we have to die, we have to reborn, we have to decay. That is cycle of name, form, and cognition. Now I'll explain. Lord Buddha said in the Maha Sutta, Nama Rupa Pacchaya Vijnana, Vijnana Pacchaya Nama Rupa. Now, if you see the phone, because of the addition of the eye and the visual, there is understanding. There is especially you understanding. There's the phone and I am. Because of this both, how you can cognize the phone, how you have a cognition, what is the cause to the cognition, what is the cause to the name and form, what is the cause to the consciousness. The cause to the consciousness is name and form, because you have a working body, a living body. Has a form, and you have the as a similar word to name, we can use the nerve system and the brain. You have a working body with the brain. Because of that, that is, we can call it name and form. That means the working body and sensation, perception, volition, intention, contact, and attention. You have those in the body. Because of this working body, when something come to your sense bases, then there's a contact, there's a cognition, there's consciousness as phone and I. And because of, and if we think about what is the cause to the name and form, the cause to name and form, again, cognition, consciousness. That means how we perceive, how we cognize our body, how we cognize I, the concept of I. We cognize the concept of I by a visual, or by a sound, or by a tangible, or by a thought. Nothing else. You feel your body, or you feel the concept of I by the cognizing of the eye, or the cognizing of ear, or the cognizing of the body, or the cognizing of your mind. Nothing else. So cognition helps to maintain the name and form. Name and form helps to maintain the consciousness. Maha Sutta, that means the root of the Buddhism, it says the four kind of unchanging matters, four kind of things. One is name cannot exist without a form. That means naming system cannot exist without a form. If there's no physical phone, there is no any idea about phone, no any naming about a phone, visual of phone. And the second thing is, without a name, there is no existing any form. If you are die, if there's no any person, if there's no if there's no way to name the phone, if there's no any person, living being here, we can't talk about a phone, because naming must be is there. Without naming, we can't talk about a form. The third one is, without a name and form, we can't talk about a cognition. If there's no a working body, a body with the naming system, there is no cognition, nothing to cognize. And the fourth one is, if there's no cognition, if we not cognize as eye and visual, if we not cognize ear and sound, if we not cognize body and tangible, if we not cognize mind and thought, there is no existing any working body. Working body is existing because of cognizing. If we don't have to cognize anything, there is no any life. There is no any body or naming system. So that's why Lord was explaining. Because of cognizing as phone and eye, again you feel your body, your life, your name and form. Naming system and the form, body or another outside things. And because of the naming system and outside, the body and outside things, the cognition is working. Without a working body, there is no cognition, cognizing, no any consciousness or cognitions. That is the deepest point of the Dhamma. So what Lord Buddha has done is, he understands his circle and he has comprehended. If we make the cognition, which is not manifestive, name and forms, that is the way to cease the suffering. If can we make the consciousness or cognition without manifesting, without reflecting name and form, without reflecting on the outside things and namings, that is the way to overcome from the stress and the suffering. So that is what we are practicing in the Vipassana meditation. However, if you really understand this movement as just cognizing, this movement as just a name and form, reflection and naming, you just have a cognition, nothing else. Just seeing is seeing, heard is just heard, sensed is just sensed, cognized is just cognized, nothing else. So if you practice this, the name and form will not reflect in your cognition as a thing, as an established thing. It's not reflecting like that. So if there's no any established objects to the mind, there is no first person. Because of external objects, we feel a person who experiencing. But if there are no any external things can find to the mind, there is no person who existing, person who experiencing. That is the hint. That is the secret. So you are ignorant, you are preparating, then your cognition is working. So name and forms again and again reflecting on your cognition as a phone, as a thing, because your name and form working. Then six sense spaces. Then you feel, now I'm explaining the dependent origination. Then you feel existing things. Now you have idea, if I cognize or not, there is name, form, and cognition. You feel an independent duality, external things and internal things. And because of these external and internal things, you feel then something come to you, then you feel a contact. Already now six sense spaces mean you already divided duality. Then something comes to your attention as the phone. Now you are thinking the real phone to my real eyes. Just now I experience it. I can cognize it. That is called the contact. Because of the contact means three parts. External phone is there, established and independent phone is there, and independent eye is there, eyes are there, and just now I cognize it. My mind understand it like that. Because of this contact, the sensation become as a thing. Sensation, you think sensation is a thing. Why I'm experiencing the sensation. Because of that, you again feel because of that you feel craving. If that sensation, if you take the sensation as a thing, if it is a pleasant sensation, you feel to feel it again and again. And if it's an unpleasant sensation, you try to feel it, you try to avoid it. If it's a neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensation, you try to exist with sensation. You have a craving to that. If that's the craving, you are clinging. You are clinging to the experiences. You grasp to that experience. You cling. There's a real form like that. Akkeya sanjino satta. Now you got foot on the phone. You find a footing on the phone. If you have clinging, there is existence. You feel, if I cognize or not, here is a real world. I am existing in this world. You have that idea. Because of the existence, once the karma finish into your body, in your body, the cognizing again starts in another body. You are reflecting, your cognition is working. Again and again you cognizing many name and forms. A phone as a name and form, a sound as a name and form. Again and again you experiencing. Because of that experiencing, the body's karma is finished. Now another body, there's a name and form, there's some external as a thought or a tangible. Then you again cognize that in that body quickly, immediately. Like a fire which is going to one tree in a wildfire. The fuel is the wind, like that way. In the samsara, the fuel is the clinging. We cling as a phone is a real thing. But we don't know phone is made by in our own mind. Because if we look at the phone, it is just seen. If we touch the phone, it is just tangible. If we think about the phone, it is just a thought. But if we conceive, there's an independent and established phone, that is a conceiving. That is a thought. That is a collection of thoughts. But if you cease the ignorance, remainlessly, if you remainlessly cease ignorance, there is no preparations as phone and I. You just seeing is seen, just cognizing, just a cognition. If there's no preparations, there is no cognition, there is no consciousness. Consciousness becomes apatittita vijnana, anidassana vijnana. The consciousness is without reflecting. In earlier, I have mentioned you, there's a stanza, Vijnanam anidassanam anantang sabbhatopabham etta namancharu etta apoja patavi tejo vayu nagadati etta digancha rasancha anuntulang subhasubham etta namancha rupancha asesam uparujjati vijnanassa nirodhena ettetam uparujjati. That means when the cognition, when the consciousness becomes non-manifestive, non-reflective, with the endless light of wisdom, there is the liquidity, solidity, temperature, and air are not find a footing. When the consciousness becomes non-manifestive, there is no any idea about short or long. There is no any idea about good or bad. There is no any idea about long, the distant and near. There's no any idea about gross or subtle. Subtle. Just understanding. Then the vijnana is also, the consciousness also ceasing. If there's no consciousness, there is no name and form. Name and form will not find a footing. There's no name and form. There is no any idea about established duality as eye, visual, ear, sound, body, mind, body, tangibles, mind and thoughts. There's no any established idea. There's no established duality. There is no contact. That means if something comes to your attention, you do not feel a contact as phone, eye, and the mind who's experiencing. You don't find the contact. There's no a contact. There is no any sensation. There is no any sensation as a thing. Because if you find a sensation, you think, oh, I'm sensating this pleasant. I'm sensating this badness, unpleasant thing. There's no any idea about I am experiencing, I'm sensating. No. The sensation also ceasing. There's no sensations, there's no craving. There's no craving, there's no clinging as a thing. There's no clinging, there's no any idea about existence. World and me. If there's no existence, he will not. The fuel is over to go to birth to another birth. There's no fuel. If he not reborn, he has not to feel the decay and death and the sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. That is the cessation of the entire mass suffering. So that the cessation is the cessation of the existence. How you practice the cessation of existence? You need to practice this moment as a cognition or 100% awareness to the every object. So I wish you all to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana by comprehending the Dhamma, and may you feel the fearfulness of samsara more and more, and attain and do more effort to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very life, at least as a non-returner. Sadhu, sadhu.